more. And then we're going to go over our top 5 distance drivers available on the market currently. And then we're going to kind of talk about the Boreum, the Loft Boreum, just because we've finally seen some review videos. We feel like we could talk about it a little bit. And then we're going to cover a couple of obscure topics, including the Birdie brand and Scott Stokely.
Yep.
So without further ado, let's start with Haley King, as she has announced her intention to sign with Innova. Um, why don't you start us off with this one?
Yeah. So, we don't know any numbers. That's the usual thing with Innova. Um, I'm sure that she signed an NDA. Um, we may never know what she's making with Innova, and probably won't.
No.
Um, Hopefully she got what she deserved, which was a good contract.
Yeah.
Um, she had a really good year last year. She won 3 of the national tour events. Um, she, I think, on the website it said that she had 24 career wins, which is really good. Um, she's earned a total of over $82,000 in her career. That's also really good.
Yeah.
So she's only going to build to that this year. I feel like. I feel like Discraft really suited her, but um, I, I don't really see her throwing Innova yet. It's just not in my brain. Um, I'm not against it. I just, you know, MVP or Discmania would have really looked good to me. What
Yeah.
do you think?
Well, in her announcement video, one of the things that she kind of went over was she talked about some of the molds and discs that she's thrown in the past. And that kind of made me, you know, pretty excited for what we're going to see coming up this year because not only does she seem pretty comfortable with a lot of their molds already,
Mm-hmm.
she sounded like she had kept a fair amount of her old Innova discs and she has broken in discs that she's ready to throw in the bag right away. So she's not going to have to work too hard to get some of those discs broken in and really like a forced overhaul of her entire lineup like we
Right.
usually see with a lot of these, big names when they start moving around. So that's pretty exciting for me. I wish we did have some more numbers, but Innova doesn't seem like they're willing to announce that right now, and that's okay. Um, I really hope that we kind of start moving up towards that transparency with every company. But if they're not there yet, they're not there yet. All I can
Yeah.
hope for is that she's getting what she's worth. In my mind, there's no reason for her not to be making the same annual as the newly announced Kristen and
Oh no.
Kona Panis deals. So that's kind of the big things right now. Like you talked about, she's easily one of the best players on tour. One of the things that she said specifically in her announcement video is that she wants to be one of the, or if not the best player to ever play the game.
Right.
Um, and I mean, we're talking that's some big shoes to fill when you're talking all the way around. There's a lot of players who've had 5+ world championships, including Paige Pierce, who is still continuing to rack stuff like that up.
Right. Yeah, she's not done.
And no,
She's not done.
absolutely, absolutely not. But we've seen a lot of that, skill level that is definitely there, and she's very young and has every opportunity to do just that. The only unfortunate thing that I see for her versus what Paige has had to conquer is um, FPO is just now starting to hit the point where MPO has kind of been for a few years now, where the skill gaps aren't quite as big, right?
Right.
We're seeing a lot of closure in those top 5 players
I love
that
it.
we didn't see, for the past 10 years of Paige's dominance.
Yeah.
And that's going to make it a lot harder for her to, you know, stand out as one of the best in the world. But it could also favor her in the fact that she could say, I did it against Paige and against Kristen, against Katrina Allen,
Yeah, if
against
she can
Kona
pull it
Panis.
off and continue, like, if she becomes really dominant, you know what I mean? And we
Yeah,
see her go on a tear, that only complements her
yeah,
in
and that's
going against
absolutely
people like that.
true. I mean, we know that she has some things to work on. She is easily one of the biggest arms on the tour right now. Um, and she is an opportunity now. Haley King doesn't usually enter into too many of the distance competitions. Like,
No,
um,
which surprises me because maybe she
yeah,
doesn't want to make people look bad.
yeah. Now, when you were looking it up, you didn't see any tour series discs yet, right? They haven't
No, I
announced her tour
didn't.
series disc yet.
They had put some of the discs in her bag. Um, I know she's bagging a destroyer, a wraith, a pig, AVRX3, and a TL3.
Yeah.
So
Um, I, everybody knows I'm really pulling for Calvin Heimberg to really turn it around and turn that corner this season and be the player he's truly capable of being. But if he doesn't do that, how cool would it be to see an FBO player on the destroyer?
I mean
I mean,
I'm
that's
yeah, that would be
we've
cool.
never. It's so uncommon to see female players on 12 and 13, 14 speed discs. I think that would
Yeah,
be outrageous.
I
But
that would be awesome. I would
yeah,
love it. That would be cool.
yeah, she has a few things that she needs to work on this season. Her fairway hits, her park percentages, and her circles and regulation are still down from what you see out of Kristen Page, even Katrina, and even Macy Villadiaz. But the talent level, the skill gap, I think is much higher with the exception of Paige and Kristen.
Yeah.
You know, so I think she just really needs to settle down and kind of do those things because the putting's there. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
So
I
if
wonder
she
if
can
she
settle
what
down on the fairways a little bit, she would be dominant,
do you know what she
truly
putted
dominant.
with at Discraft?
Uh no,
Challengers probably.
I think that would be correct. Let me see if I can look that up.
Okay.
Because we know you said AVRX3, right?
Yeah, but the AVRX3 is kind of like a zone style. Like it's more of an approach upshot disc, and so is the pig. I don't see her putting with either one of those. Um,
No.
I I don't know. I mean, polecat maybe.
Halo Polecat?
A Halo polecat.
Halo Polecat, guys.
A Halo King Halo polecat.
Um, yeah, she putted with a challenger.
Okay, yeah. So
So
I don't know. She'll the challengers are beaded too.
yeah,
Um, so Innova, the AVRs, she'll probably go with a KC Pro. I know they're beaded, so
yeah. I think that would be
yeah,
pretty pretty consistent thought process there.
yeah.
But yeah, I think it'll be really exciting to see what she does.
And Chat
You know,
says it's got to beat that new passion though. I don't know. I don't
yeah,
know. I
that
have you got a chance
that
to throw the
passion.
passion? Did you throw mine? I think you threw
I threw
mine.
yours
Yeah.
a couple of times. Now yours wasn't beaten yet,
No.
so
It's a very
um,
surprising disc.
yeah,
I don't know if it can get beat in yet. I'm gonna have to really
it
work on
it
that.
it can. I actually started watching some videos and kind of picking up on people who are using it
Hmm.
a little more often. It's from what I've seen, a little more understable than yours is right now,
Yeah.
because yours really loves to get flat and stay flat,
Yeah.
and it's gonna develop some turn, but
Hmm.
not some like over
Yeah.
overzealous turn or anything like
Yeah.
that.
It's not gonna try
But
to
it's gonna
show the
develop,
flight plate.
yeah, but it's gonna develop some really nice flex lines for you once that starts breaking in. So
Yeah, I'm
that'll be
excited
really
for it.
cool,
Yeah.
really cool. Um, moving on to probably, well, we'll talk about Innova a little bit more as well with the Haley King, but we'll save that for when we talk about Innova as
Hmm.
Innova. We're gonna move on to Chris Dickerson. Uh,
Robot
Chris
chicken.
Dickerson, the robot chicken has landed. It's at Discraft.
Yep.
Who saw that coming?
Yeah.
Apparently, everybody.
Apparently everybody. I
That's-
remember last week, um, when he announced that he was leaving Prodigy, it was the next day that I was like hearing rumors that he was throwing Discraft
yeah,
already, and I'm like, wow, paparazzi's really made it to disc golf this year. Like maybe
yeah,
Ricky was right. He's like, I couldn't go out to a course because I was afraid I was gonna get seen.
yeah.
You know, and
Yeah. Chris didn't seem too fearful of it. Now, that
no,
being said, one of the things that I had noticed is he pretty traditionally now for about 4 seasons in a row, he has opened his season by competing in the charity event of the Knoxville Ice Bowl, which I will be competing in this year.
I know you got to be
Uh,
excited. Yeah,
I'm pretty excited. I'm so excited. I love both of those courses. Um, and he's going to rip those courses to shreds because the weather's been so bad. They made an informed decision to keep it to the all shorts for both divisions.
oh, it is gonna
So it's, I
course
mean, it's
record. You think?
I don't know. I'm pretty sure he already has course records.
You're
like
probably
I
right.
said,
You're probably
like I
right.
said,
He
he's been
probably
he's
owns
been
that. He probably
he's
owns that
been
course.
he's been competing in this event for 4 years now, and his name was notably off the list until literally an hour after the announcement today. So he's officially signed up for that event. I'm really hoping I can sneak maybe 5 minutes of his time, get a little interview recorded
Yeah,
for
that
you
would be
guys. Just
awesome.
hoping maybe just a little rapid fire. Just get a
Yeah,
little yes, no's, Hayes, congratulations, and move on and wish him the best of luck for his season. Hopefully, can't promise anything because I'm competing on the B side. He'll be on the A side, so we'll be on different courses at different times. But
yeah.
um,
You never know.
hoping I'll get a minute to talk to him.
Yep,
Um, but yeah, I mean, first and foremost, that crazy robot chicken disc.
dude.
First thing they did immediately, the sickest robot chicken stamp they could have ever designed,
Yep,
and released it on the Buzz.
and it looks so good. It really does. That
Yeah,
robot chicken design. I don't know who Discraft has their graphics graphic design work through, but
yeah,
you know, I'd say he probably had what I don't know. He might have had a week or so to get that ready. It is
yeah,
clean. It's just nice. And I like the camouflage stamp. Did you see
yeah.
that? The camouflage foil, that's just icing on the cake. Could you imagine if they do a flannel foil robot chicken?
Oh my gosh, I would buy, dude. I would
I'd
buy that in
buy
a
it.
heartbeat.
I don't
Chat,
even throw buzzes.
chat's over here saying considering buying another Buzz. The robot chicken is looking good. Trust me, we thought the same things. I was a little disappointed. I actually just ordered an ESP Buzz literally 4 days ago.
Oh
But
man,
that
yeah,
being said, if I order the robot chicken Buzz, it's not going to be thrown.
you're right. You're
So
right. Yeah,
it's
yeah,
I ordered that ESP Buzz for my bag, and it's if I order that robot chicken, it's not going to be
yeah.
not
It'd
gonna
be it'd
even
be
touch
going
my
on the
bag.
wall.
I,
Man, though they look so good.
all right, so let's talk a little bit more about the details. We have a little bit more in the details on Chris's deal than we
Yes,
did. So he's going to have a royalty based deal, but it's going to offer uncapped earning potential, which is beautiful. That means he
yes,
doesn't have to, hit something in special to meet his incentives.
yeah. It's kind of
He's going to make that dollar for dollar, but he also does not have a stopping point. So let's
right.
say, that Tour Series disc, as long as they can keep producing it, they're going to sell it. He's going to make money off of it. There's no cap. And that is going to be huge for him. The
He took a
projected,
deal basically that he's betting on himself this year and the next 4 years, and I love that.
yeah,
You don't see that too often in the realm of signings this year. But
No.
it's projected to be, you know, $250,000 a year in sales,
Yeah.
and plus Discraft also um got him for the signing bonus an RV,
Yeah.
and that is great.
Yeah. We'll get to that one in just a little bit
Flannel
more
foil, what
here.
an idea, right?
Yeah.
I need some what do we call that when you have an idea and
As
you're like,
you need
I
the
need
copyright.
yeah, but it's something else for thoughts.
Well,
It's like, I don't know.
patent.
No. I'm not that good. Oh, intellectual property.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know if
Um
you can do that on a foil stamp, but
I was talking
if
to
you
Chris.
if you had the foil stamp on that design and you created a logo with that stamp, yeah, then you'd have some intellectual property, I'd
Right.
say.
So you was
Um,
Ben in chat was trying to buy some old Prodigy discs from him. Did you have any? I seen on Instagram where he was posting. He had put it onto a website, I guess, to let them take care of it, the GoThrow.com or something like that.
yeah,
Um, so was you able to get any? You know,
yeah,
just
yeah.
wondering.
Let us know.
Yeah, let us know what you get.
Yeah, and so one of the things he talked about in his announcement video as well is that he's expecting to play more events this year, and hopefully we're going to see him play a full tour and actually get all the way out west to some of the events like De La Viaga and the Portland
Mm-hmm.
Open and some of those even some Silver Series on the West
Oh,
Coast where that he never makes.
I can see Chris tearing Silver Series up this year. I
Um,
can
and I'd
because
have to imagine if he's considering doing that, there's got to be a base pay level on that contract as well.
yeah,
So I would imagine you're still looking annually. He's going to be making six figures guaranteed,
I
and
would say so. Yeah,
there's the
like
quote
a
unquote
bar minimum.
undisclosed. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's a quote unquote undisclosed guaranteed minimum, and I'm thinking if he's expecting to play all the events, including the West Coast, he probably has a six figure guaranteed
yeah.
in there.
I completely agree, and he earns that, and he
Yep,
deserves that as well. Um,
yep. And so in that contract, and this is the second part of that is they are giving him an RV, him and his wife an RV to travel in, and more to that, they have agreed to pay all expenses for it as well. So it's not just they didn't just give him an RV and say, "All right, here you go, good luck." They said, "Here's an RV. We're going to pay for gas for your entire tour season. We're going to pay for maintenance on the vehicle, and we're going to pay for the insurance as well." So
mm-hmm.
they basically equipped him to go on tour for free the entirety of this
Yeah,
deal. And that's beautiful because we've all wanted to see more Chris, and we know Chris doesn't make those West Coast appearances all that often. And we get a chance to see him in some of the best events for him this year.
yeah.
And I'm super excited
Right
for that.
now, he's currently ranked number 4, I believe, in the UDisc World rankings. Um, is that right? I think it's fourth.
They've got him at four, yes.
Yeah. Okay. It was. I know he had moved up like one spot.
Yeah.
Um,
And I mean
from last year.
his PDGA ranking isn't too shy of top right now as well.
Yeah.
His official ranking when I looked at it in the Knoxville Open Ice Bowl was like 1045. So that's
Yeah. That's.
basically top 10
Oh yeah.
guaranteed.
Oh yeah.
Um,
So
yeah. So
that is something I didn't know. But is really cool. Is that he was wanting 6 to 8,000 for his 600 to 800 disc collection of Prodigy, and that he's going to get that shop to sell his discs, and all the money's going to go to charity. So that's huge.
that's
Hopefully
awesome.
we find out, what charity um, that'll be going to soon.
Yeah.
Um, Also, um, I cannot wait to see what he's putting with. Like, I I want to know. I don't think, 'cause, the way he puts, he needs something that's um a little bit more understable than a Luna, I feel like. Um,
Maybe, but maybe not. So,
yeah,
because
you think
one
maybe
of
the
the
rubber
things,
blends?
yeah, because so like everybody who putts with Lunas putts with the rubber blend Lunas, and they ran into production a pure Jawbreaker blend this year as well, and sold those around a little bit.
Right.
Never anything crazy, but I think that either one of those would work very well because if you remember, you saw me pull out that rubber blend Luna and throw it, and you're like, I threw it at a 45-degree hyzer and it flipped over and kept fading right, and you're like, Lunas aren't that
Yeah, I was
understable,
like,
right?
Lunas are not supposed to be like that.
Yeah, but
Like,
they
not the
are.
Lunas I threw.
Right, but they are, and that's because that's also my putting Luna,
Right.
and so that it developed that understableness after a week of putting,
Yeah.
and that was not even severely like on a practice basket at home or anything like that. That was just a week's worth of playing on the course. It became that understable, and it has now held that same stability for about 3 months.
Yeah.
So it hasn't become any more understable, but it's held that stability. And I actually use it as my long distance putter because of the fact that being a hyzer putter, the farther out that I get, I either need to throw it wider and let it fade back into the basket,
Hmm.
or I need something like the Luna, which when I throw from that far, it starts fighting to the right. And it never actually flips up to flat and goes right or anything because, it's not a full throw, but it fights that a little more. So I can take a more direct line from 45 feet than I
Right.
would if I used per se my P2,
Right.
right? So I've started using it as a long distance punter, and I think that given a few weeks to beat one in, the Luna would work very well for him. Um, I don't see him putting with like a banger.
I don't either. Um, I maybe a ringer though. Maybe
Maybe.
maybe a ringer.
Um,
Um, I it's just something I'm excited to see.
yeah, and
Also,
I've
the
never used the Roach. Have you ever
oh,
used the
you know
Roach?
what? I have not, but that is I know Brody puts with those.
Yeah,
Um, that's potential. Um, I
I
think
know the Roach as a
it's
putting putter has been kind
beadless.
of more up and coming lately.
Yeah, the roach is beadless.
Yep, chat's coming in here telling me about the Roach, dude.
Okay, all right.
But yeah, that
That
that would
could
be
very well be
I would
what he
say
puts
your
with
top
then.
three contestants are going to be Luna, a Ringer, or a Roach.
Yeah, see that. I did think it was kind of funny how Paul, like in the introduction video,
Yeah,
Paul's like, "So, what are some of the discs that you're excited to throw?" And I was like, "Is he gonna do the thing where he just picks Paul's discs?" You know what I mean? Like, I was like,
yeah,
and he didn't say a
yeah.
single one of them.
I'm gonna throw a Zeus. I'm gonna
Yeah,
throw a
yeah,
Hades.
no,
I'm gonna throw a Luna.
yeah,
But
that's what I was expecting. But he was like, no, he's like, I love the Force. He's like, I love the Undertaker. He said, I love the Buzz. You know, and
yeah,
what was the
but
fourth disc? Why do I not remember that? Mm-mm.
was it his own?
Oh, it was his own. You're right. Yep, you're right.
He'll need an understay or an overstable approach disc.
Yeah, that's what it was. He's like, everybody loves the zone.
Now that being said, if there were, aside from putting putters, if there were one disc from Paul's lineup, and I'm not going to include the Hades or the Zeus because they were kind of prototypes before he got there. The one disc that I could really see him throwing is going to be the Malta
I could see that.
because he definitely likes his overstable
Mm-hmm.
mid ranges.
Yes. He could
So he'll
tread
love to throw
with the
that on a flex
Malta,
line.
yeah, on them flex lines inside the woods. I'd say we'll see him use that a lot.
Yeah,
Um, the,
and he
you
doesn't
know,
throw a whole
the
lot of understable mid ranges. So
no,
I don't see he's not going to throw a whole lot of a wasp. I don't think, or a comet.
yeah, no, I doubt it. A Comet is for like those touch
Yeah,
shot players, and Chris is not really a touch shot player. He's more of a aggressive, get the line type player, and he
yeah,
needs those over stability or needs that over
yeah.
stability.
And the other thing is too is Paul is over time. he has become more backhand dominant. He
Mm-hmm.
doesn't throw his forehand as much as he used to, so he throws a little bit more of that wasp to get that understability
Right.
on some of those backhand lines because he kind of likes the slow fades as opposed to the hard fades of a forehand.
Mm-hmm.
But you know that same concept will apply to Chris, but his forehand is also good enough that he'll. I don't think he needs to throw those understable,
Yeah, I don't
mids.
either.
So
And if he does, he'll throw the buzz. It's
yeah,
like you can put the buzz on any line and it'll be okay.
yeah, and he beats in an ESP buzz, and that's going to become understable naturally, as
That's
opposed
very
to
cool.
being overly over understable like a wasp or
Mm-hmm.
comet. Um, but let's take a second while we've got that then, and let's review uh the elite team for Discraft now
Okay, okay. Hit me with it. Ah.
because this lineup was already pushing greatness and it just got that much better, guys. I mean, you talk about the elite team um, on the MPO side, you've got Paul Macbeth, Paul Ulibarri, Michael Johansson, Adam Hammis, Tim Barham is still on there as well as Adam Presnell and Ezra Aderhold is
Andrew
up on
Presnell.
the yeah, sorry. Um, and Aderhold is up on the elite team this year as well. And that adds Chris Dickerson to that. And if Brody makes the steps that we're hoping he makes this year, then he'll be on the elite team next year as
Next year.
well.
Yeah.
And that means that is a powerhouse
That is
of
a
an MPO
roster right
team.
there. I'll tell you.
I mean, you've got, you know, arguably an all time great with Paul Macbeth. Um, could go down as the best player to ever play the game when all is said and done. Paul Ulibarri, he's there.
Yeah. I
He's
mean,
on the elite team.
team captain.
Yeah, and you know what? He's not the best player on that roster, but he does some of the best marketing of anybody on that
He
team.
does. And I love watching his videos.
Oh yeah, and
Anything that Paul Ulibarri is a part of, I watch. I
I can't tell you how many times I go back and rewatch Paul Ulibarri's practice rounds
Yes.
with Jeremy Colling,
I love him. I do. I love him.
but
Practice
he's not going to
round.
be the player. He's not going to. If anything, we get to these elite series events. If we ever pick him to win, it's a dark horse pick. It's never going to be
Yeah.
the. He fits this course really well or anything like that. But
Right.
he is capable of going out there and throwing up those kind of numbers from time to time.
I'm
Um,
gonna say it right now. I'm gonna say we see 4 different Discraft Elite Team MPO winners this year. In
yeah,
like winners.
between the Pro Tour and the majors,
Yes.
I
Um,
can see that.
Macbeth, Hammis, Chris
Yeah,
Dickerson, and Ezra is gonna be my 4th pick. I
yeah,
think Ezra gets a win this year.
yeah. I think it's kind of ridiculous. Because that was actually where I was going to go to next. Michael Johansson, dude.
Mm-hmm.
He's is an all time great for himself
Yes.
as it already were. So there's no need to talk about him. But Adam Hammis this season has essentially set himself apart as the best forehand thrower on tour right now.
Eh,
Like dominant forehand player. Not that he has the best forehand throw,
okay,
but in
because
terms of somebody who
Eagle is
dominantly throws, in terms of somebody who is primarily a forehand thrower, I mean, it's not very often that we see, you know, forehand dominant players be dominant on the course.
is he really? He wouldn't consider himself a forehand dominant player though.
If
Like
you if you look back, he would.
I, maybe I don't
If you
know.
look back at his tour events, like all of his look back at his wins this last season, you'll
He
kind of
is
notice a little bit of a forehand
extraordinarily
dominance
good
trend.
at forehand. I just didn't
Yeah.
think that he was like a. But he does throw forehand more often than most players.
Yes. He is up there. I mean, when I say forehand dominant players,
Yeah.
you talk about Sexton and Coling
Yeah,
and some of those types of players, and I mean, Coling has a just hair shy of an elite backhand
backhand.
as well,
You're right.
but he is still a forehand dominant player.
Yeah.
He will choose the forehand over the backhand as long as it will benefit him truly.
Yep.
And it's the same thing with Adam. I actually rewatched the Resistance Disc Open literally just a couple of days ago just to, have some fun with it. And the only day that he mained the backhand over his forehand on most of his throws was the final day when it was just too rainy for him to get a good grip forehand.
Right.
And he had such a big lead at that point in time. He was
I
laying
remember
up.
watching that. Poor Cole Red Allen.
Oh,
Oh,
dude, I love it though because people were saying like, oh, he's out there and he's keeping his head up and he's just having a good time. And I looked at it completely different.
yeah.
The payout for that open was not particularly large, so I don't think he was worried about making money. And so what I personally saw when I rewatched that this week was he's not out there just having a good time. He's out there saying, I'm gonna attempt to make some shots that I wouldn't normally because I'm already so far behind.
Right.
And he was having a great time just trying to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, he was trying to eagle a couple of holes there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was like, go for it, young buck.
It
You
was one
know?
of those things that, like, towards the end around, he was just so wet. He just popped his hood back down. He was just like, let it rain, let
On
it
the
rain.
the
You know.
back nine he wasn't even wearing his rain jacket
Yeah.
anymore.
He was just
He was
he was soaked.
he
But
he
that
he
is
was a wet
still
towel on the
that
course.
is still what I remember Cole for. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that image of him stuck in my head. So it's like
Yeah.
that was
And
good marketing at the same time. You know what I mean?
and
Like
that
him being there on that final day on that lead card makes makes a difference when people can make it there.
yeah, and I mean, he got out there and he was in the fair conditions, he went out there and he shot a 1060 plus rated round as well.
Hmm.
To get himself on the lead card for that last day. So he's younger. He might not have played as smart as he should have when it got to the rain, but that's okay. He's 17,
Yeah, exactly.
16 at
He's
the
got
time.
time.
So,
I think an open bag
um,
will help him a lot this year. I do.
yeah,
Um, and
that'll
Drew is
be
taking him under his wing. I think it's gonna be good for Cole.
yeah.
Um,
Cole's that one of those players that has all the raw talent, and he needs somebody to rein it in,
little
which
guidance.
is
Yeah,
which is what we've seen over the last couple of years from Eagle as well.
yeah,
We've seen him take that and slow down his X step and slow down his swings and still instead of going for 750-foot power, go for 650-foot power and hit the right spot on the
right.
hole. You know, it's the same thing for Cole.
Yeah,
So he just needs to rein it in a little bit. Um, all right. I mean, I think that pretty much wraps up Chris Dickerson. Unless chat
yeah,
has anything else they want to add to that, feel
yep,
free to pop that in here as we move on to our next topic
yeah.
here.
We're gonna try to open it up to chat a little bit more tonight. Excuse
Yeah.
me. We're going to try to answer some of y'all's questions as we get to them. So feel
Yep.
free to ask us anything disc golf related, and we will do
Yes.
our best.
Yeah. Please do. As we kind of get down towards the rest of this segment or this show here, we're gonna have some more speculation, and we'd love to hear a little
Mm-hmm.
bit more about what you guys are thinking as well. Speaking of speculation, let's talk a little bit more about Innova.
All right.
Uh, is it too little, too late after everything that's happened this off season, especially considering we don't know any details about this signing with Haley King?
Yes, for me, um, I do not plan on adding any Innova to my bag. Um,
No.
I just it left a bad taste in my mouth
Yep.
seeing Marweed, Kona, Mason, um, Valerie. It's just I don't know. and then Ricky to top it off. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
super glad that Haley gets to go somewhere where she's going to be comfortable.
yeah,
Um,
and she's gonna be top dog while
yeah,
she's there.
she
She doesn't
she
have to
she
be
will
in
be.
Paige's shadow anymore.
As long as Owen might come up there and just Jennifer Allen's gonna always be there too. I don't know. It's one of those things. I don't. She's not under Paige's shadow, yes. Um, but there's still some dominant women there on Innova, but
Yeah,
it is a little too late for me. Um, Even if they would have signed Cat, which they could still potentially do, I don't think Haley would like that too much.
no, yeah, yeah.
But
I don't know. No, and we'll go over that cat speculation a
but
little bit later as well. But
if
I go ahead.
if they did, I would pay good money to see a Haley Cat versus Missy Page deal. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
I'm just saying that would be kind of cool.
yeah. And you know what? There was a lot of word um that Discraft kind of didn't want to deal with the drama that was supposedly brewing under
Hmm.
there. But I mean, there's so much speculation and nobody's talking about it, which is good because we don't need to air all that dirty laundry out. I don't think.
Right.
But my hope is when push comes to shove, is that Paige kind of took Haley under her wing for at least the very beginning
Yeah.
when she was at Discraft and showed her a lot of the ropes. And so I hope that there's a friendship there
I'm
that
sure there
goes
is.
beyond
Yeah.
beyond whatever might have supposedly happened. Um, and you know, I hope that can kind of butt into some really cool rivalries that we're going to
Yeah.
see out there, but friendly rivalries, like a lot of what we saw with Ricky and Paul. There's no bad blood between the two of them,
Right.
and we love watching them battle it out.
Yeah. They love putting on that show. Like
Yeah,
they feed it. They feed off of it. You know what I mean? Like they're not gonna uh, you know give each other burning intensity looks and stuff like that. It's just they enjoy the competition. They know that they are both really good, and they
yeah,
could beat each other at any given point, at any
yeah,
time. So
yeah,
it's such a respect thing there of competition that we love as fans to see.
yeah. Now, as for Innova, from my point of view, I mean, it's kind of the same thing. My hope is that Innova is just a little bit behind the times, like I mentioned last week. But I think you're completely right. Everything that happened with Innova really left a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth, and it made me feel like the company that is likely the largest, grossing company in the world
Mm-hmm.
in terms of monetary value from their company is not paying their players. And that didn't make me feel good.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, I really love Calvin Heinberg. And as you know, I had been looking to add a destroyer to my bag recently.
Right.
Um, and I backed off of that a little bit. I was
Yeah.
planning on buying a couple of Halo destroyers, but they weren't available, the ones that I wanted in the weight that I wanted. So, I needed to add a disc to my bag. And I backed off of that. And as you know, because I had mentioned it to you already,
Mm-hmm.
that I went ahead
The
and ordered
Zeus.
a couple of Zeus's instead
Yep.
because it's kind of like their imitation, if you will,
Yeah.
or at least, pretty close to it. And, I went for it. There's kind of three reasons behind it. Number one of the things that I haven't liked about Innova in recent years, particularly, is the inconsistency of their discs and their molds.
Yes.
Um, I find that for a company that makes as much as they do, that they should have consistency in their discs. And how often does anybody else, if you're in chat, let me know if you feel the same way. But Innova seems to be the only company in the last few years where I've significantly noticed variations in their molds in the same plastic.
Yep.
where I could go out there. And I had a few weeks ago when we were playing, I threw a disc and you're like, "What is that?" And I was like, "Oh, that's a rock." And you're like, "That was a rock?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's not what I thought I was buying either."
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it wasn't the disc that when you think of a DX rock, that was not how it flew.
Right.
And when I bought it and got out there and started playing with it. Don't get me wrong, it's in my bag and I
You can
found a
find a
place
use
for it.
for it. Right. But
I
it's
found a
not
place
what you
for it,
got.
but it's not what I was buying.
Yeah.
It's not the disc I thought I was getting, and so I had to find another way to fill that spot in my bag, and that was disappointing for me. And I've noticed that especially in recent years, particularly the last 3 to 4 years. Um, if I bought a Valkyrie 5 years ago, a Valkyrie was a Valkyrie was a Valkyrie. But
Yeah.
I've noticed that Valkyries more recently have not been all the same stabilities. You
Yeah.
could get a pop top Valkyrie, you could get a flat top Valkyrie, both of them in star, and you could have them on the same rack, which means they came out of the same production line more often than not. You know,
Yep.
when when companies get these shipments, usually they're all pulled from the same production line and lot, which is what they call it in manufacturing, is a lot number, which means they
Mhm.
came out of a particular, a date and a time, and the inconsistencies have just been bad, you know.
You're right. Yeah, I agree. The destroyers are I I think I'm going to start moving away from the destroyers myself strictly because I have two in my bag and one of them I am very comfortable with, but I don't know if I can find another one that's like that. You know what I mean? Like I don't think
Nope.
I can find another one that's going to be exactly like that. So I need to step down from that and find something that I can find a couple of that if I need to beat in, and that was part of the thing with the Scorpiuses because
Right.
I had a Scorpius, loved it, lost it, got another one, same disc, same exact disc, loved
Right.
it, lost it, got another one, got it, and it was the best one yet. It was just a tick more overstable, and I loved it, and I lost it. I am not meant to have a Scorpius, but but
No, well, apparently
it's
that's the disc you're most comfortable throwing in a bad situation, which is,
yeah, that's
understandable.
yeah, and yeah, maybe I shouldn't. Maybe that, you know what? Good observation. I need to just not.
um, Now observation number 2 out of 3 here. One of the things that I've noticed about Innova compared to a lot of other companies, especially in discs that have very similar stabilities, is Innova tends to have a little bit of a sharper inner rim on their distance drivers.
Yes.
Um, and so that was another reason for me to go and pick up Zeus as opposed to a any other replica of the destroyer or the destroyer
Right.
itself. It was one of the things I've been loving about Discraft drivers more recently that I didn't really know that I liked was they seem to be a little more gentle coming out of the hand. They don't rip up my fingers as bad,
They are.
and they don't hurt so much in the cold because it's
Yeah.
been cold here this week. Let me tell you.
I
Um,
noticed I played yesterday, and I, of course, had COVID and hadn't been able to play. So let me just say, I played really bad yesterday, and it was cold. But when discs were coming out of my hands, the first thing that I threw was some Innova, and I thought my fingers were going to pop off. You
yep.
know what I mean? I then went to my Discraft crank, and it didn't hurt at all when it came out, and I was like, "Wow, there's a
Yeah.
difference here. It makes a difference,
Yeah.
especially in cold weather."
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I went out. I played 2 rounds yesterday. Starting to get ready for the ice bowl. I went and played the layouts in the caddy book for both courses. That'll be in the same day, and I shot 2 down on the first course. The second course we won't talk about. The fact that I hadn't played in 2 weeks and my body was rejecting a second round in the same day was very obvious.
Yeah,
So, but the first round, went off without a hitch. I was getting distance that I you know, I was hitting my max distance more often than not. Um, and my best throws out of the day came from a shrike that I had 5 or 6 years ago, and they don't make shrikes like that anymore.
Right.
And, and I've looked, I've tried to, I people ask like, "Oh, what's your favorite distance driver in your bag?" I have a Shrike. It was a special edition from a tournament a long time ago, and I have not been able to find another one like that ever.
Yeah. I
So
always
speaking
see a
back to
lot
that
of pop top
inconsistency,
ones. Yeah.
yeah, and mine is not. Mine is a flat top,
See,
which I
those are the ones
love.
I like.
I love flat tops. I don't like pop tops so often. Um, I know that they're a little more glidey, but they're
Yeah.
also a little more understable.
And they'll find the edge to the ground the wrong way more times than not.
Yeah. So, I went out and I threw really well, but what I noticed that I was feeling best with the whole round were my Undertaker, that one right there actually with the American flag,
Hmm.
um, and my Onyx, and they were coming out really nice. I mean, it was 39 degrees outside yesterday.
Yeah.
Actually, it was more like 30 still when I started that round. I mean, it warmed up to 39, but they weren't hurting my fingers so much. But every time I grabbed my Valkyrie or my Shrike, this is a pretty big open course, so you
Yeah.
can get all the distance you want, and then I could stick with the drivers I really wanted to use and not shape a shot too much,
Right.
and they were just it was so much more comfortable.
Yeah.
That Shrike has been used enough that the
There's
rim
no
is kind of,
flashing.
yeah, that the rim's a little softer than it would be brand new, but it was so much more comfortable to throw those Discraft in the cold than it was the Innova.
Yeah.
So, um, and then reason number three, like we talked about it when I was looking that night, and I was like, all right, I need to order this destroyer because I need it here before this tournament, and I need a chance to break it in. Um, and I looked, and I tried to find a Calvin Heimberg Halo destroyer, and I couldn't find one in the weight that I wanted, and they had a ton of Star Destroyers. I could have even bought a factory second Star Destroyer and saved $10 for what I paid for the Zeus that I bought,
Right.
and per per disc. And I had him in the cart, and I said,
Yeah.
I don't want to. I don't I don't want to support this company that doesn't seem like they're going to pay their players.
Yep. I would have
And
felt the same exact way.
that was a big thing. And so, to wrap that up, the only thing I can really say is I hope they paid Haley.
I do too. I
I
really do.
really, really hope that they do.
Yep.
Um, Before we kind of move up into our next segment, I wanted to talk a little bit about Prodigy because it almost seems like Prodigy has hit a little bit of a similar point.
Yeah.
And it's not so much that maybe they're not paying the players, but they're kind of getting called out. And I've heard around here because my area, I'm a little bit more east than you are.
Hmm.
So my area, has some friendships and relationships with Chris. Um, and I actually heard through the roundabout here a little bit that Chris not only what did it have something to do with KJ's deal, but Chris kind of felt like they were taking him for granted. One of the things that was kind of talked about was somebody had noticed a few times that Chris, when he goes out to events, he doesn't always have, his discs on tour with him to sell.
Yeah.
And that's a huge thing. That it sounds dumb, but players usually travel with their own discs that they can sell while they're on the road.
Right.
You know what I
That little
mean?
extra spending money, it makes a difference.
Exactly. Exactly. And one of the things that I had heard was he was not touring with his discs like he should have been. I had heard that he didn't feel like he was getting an opportunity to maybe put some special edition stamps on some discs like a couple of other players were, and that he wasn't getting opportunity to make sales incentives.
Right.
We talked about how this new contract is he's going to make a minimum amount and then he's going to have basically unlimited potential based on what he can sell. in his own incentive-based programs, which are going to be pretty heavily based on disc
Yeah.
sales. And he had felt, and obviously this is all unconfirmed, but through a lot of the friendships for some of these people who are out here, I can assume that a few of them are pretty accurate, and he was feeling a little bit shunned
Yeah.
at Prodigy.
I could see that.
So
I mean, he's the one that he literally designed the FX2. Like that was his idea, his disc. Like I don't
yeah,
know what it compares to, but it's a very good disc. It probably
yeah,
compares more towards like the passion um of discraft.
yeah.
But it's that's his
Well,
disc.
I was even gonna say the Force. I think
What?
that was part of why he was, yeah. Because I mean, you have to think elite arm talent players
It's
throw
a
discs
fairway
way different
driver
than we
though.
do. Yeah, the
Yeah.
Force is still a low speed
No, it's a 10
for a
speed.
distance, but yeah,
Actually, no, the Force is a 12 speed. 12. I
thought
think
the
it's
Force was
I think it's a
high
12
speed
speed.
fairway.
Mm-mm. It's a distance driver.
You
Yeah,
might be right.
I think it's a 12 speed. Maybe the Undertaker. It's similar, maybe to the Undertaker, but yeah, I think the Force is 12 speed. I know it's over. It's 10 at least.
It's 11 speed.
Okay.
Well, I was thinking of something else then,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, I mean, yeah, yeah, it's just he feels undervalued where he was,
Yeah, and I agree.
and
I know that this man is incredibly smart about discs. Um, I learned a lot from him just being on the same card as him on Music City Open. I, uh, it, it was some of the coolest things watching him show us. I mean, we was at Mill Ridge at the Music City Open. There were so many backups, so the people that were on that card there, we got to talk to the players a lot, you know.
right,
And he brought 5 discs and he stacked them all up and he's like, which one of these is an H3 and which one of these is an A1? And he was talking to Alden Harris, which is also another Prodigy disc sponsored athlete.
right,
He had won the Music City Open the year before, and he was on the card that was in front of us that was also backed up and whatnot. And Alden's like, this one. He's like, no, no, it's this one. And he would show, he's like, look at the bevel here, the bevel here, the bevel here, the bevel here, and the bevel here. And he's like, I want to show you this. So he was just sitting there training, you know what I mean? Like
right.
he doesn't have to do that, but that was something that I found
No,
extremely cool. You know what I mean? I thought that was super cool,
yeah,
and it was something that I learned, and about his disc selections and stuff like that. He's gonna build one heck of a discraft bag.
yeah,
I'm telling you, he's gonna be very thorough with it, and he is going to. If I just can't wait.
yeah,
I can't wait to
and
support him. I will get one of those buzzes. I'm going to.
yeah, and I think uh, I had mentioned it before we kind of went live here that he's going to be using a Buzz for his Tour Series disc this year.
Hmm.
But I don't think that's going to hold. I think I'm hoping because it's Discraft, I'm hoping they might have a couple of prototype molds that haven't been released yet, and I'm thinking he might go in there and find one of those that he really likes,
Hmm.
and they're going to release it in a similar fashion to what we saw like the Macbeth line and get something out there, maybe with a little Chris Dickerson logo.
Yeah.
Maybe the logo will even be that robot chicken.
I
I
mean,
think that
it's
should
great.
minimize it and make it his logo. That's all I'm
Yes,
saying.
it's great. It literally, I
um,
love it.
but yeah, I don't think that the Buzz is going to be his Tour Series disc after this year. I think he's going to have something else um, next year, which is pure speculation. That's just a feeling that I have. But I think there's going to be something a little something that comes out this year that isn't PGA approved yet, and they're gonna do a full release on it next year, and it's gonna be his tour series.
Right.
So, but yeah, as for Prodigy, I mean that kind of stuff that that leaves a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth for them too. Now that doesn't bother me in any way, shape, or form because I'll be honest, I hate Prodigy. I've never felt good with a Prodigy disc in my hand, and I've thrown a few of them, but they've never felt good in my hand. So
Right.
it's not gonna hurt me as much as Innova does because I have so much Innova in my bag as it is.
Right.
But it's not gonna be bother me so much. But the Prodigy hype on our side of the state is real because so many people here look up to Chris,
Yeah.
and
Now
that's
it's gonna be
like,
Discraft. It's you'll see so many
yep,
people be throwing
yeah,
Discraft like crazy now. That's the way it was here too. Is when Macbeth went to Discraft. You've seen nothing but PM logos and Lunas everywhere. You know what I mean? And that's just that's just the way it is.
yeah,
It and people don't. I don't know if companies even realize how much of a swing that they can make or prohibit by doing things.
yep,
And what Prodigy has done is they've prohibited all of these players, because you have Shoestrick in the Middle Tennessee area and you have um, Chris Dickerson in the Eastern Tennessee area that are Prodigy, you know.
yep,
And a lot of people around here are dynamic discs people. So you didn't
yes,
really get to see a whole lot of diversity. You've seen Prodigy and you've seen Dynamic. And that was about it. When Paul did his thing, out of nowhere, there's just people everywhere that's throwing Discraft, you know.
yep,
And you still hear some Prodigy, and there's still a lot of athletes that are sponsored by Dynamic. But I guarantee you, with Chris being the Tennessee boy
yep.
going to Discraft, I'm going to see even more Discraft than when Paul
Oh,
moved.
absolutely. Because I can personally attest to, and it's amazing because we have two what we would consider true local pro shops, if you will, and one of
Hmm.
them's a mobile pro shop. Even one of them is literally they don't have a storefront anymore. They got rid of it and they park their RV with all of their inventory out in front of a disc golf course every day. And neither of those companies really have a whole lot of Prodigy
Right,
at all. Like their Prodigy selections are so thin. The mobile store doesn't really carry any at all, and then the actual storefront from another company has a small selection of some of the most popular discs, and
right.
it's usually stuff that if you looked at that section, I could almost promise you everything that's on that wall is stuff that is backed by Chris Dickerson.
Yep.
Um, and it's amazing though when you think about that, and then you go out to these courses and you see how much Prodigy is on these courses. I mean, it was baffling to me to have gone to the only two pro shops in my area, and I've visibly noticed that there's no selection of Prodigy, and
But yet
everybody out
everybody's
here is
throwing
still
it.
throwing it, which means that they
They
love
found a
their
way.
players so much that they're ordering them instead of getting to their local storefronts because they have that
Yeah.
affiliation. And I think it's a major hit for Prodigy.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's going to be. Um, the way that they just didn't market Chris or Cat, really. They didn't
No,
market them well. Whereas they
and
probably want people to market themselves for them. Like KJ is doing a pretty good job of marketing himself.
yes,
And I think that's the reason that he got the contract because that takes a lot of the legwork off of Prodigy.
yes,
Um, but I
and,
noticed as
and
soon as Chris left Prodigy, his social media has been so much more active, like
yeah,
a lot.
yeah, and I'll be excited to see that too because I think it's going to be kind of a similar thing. One of the things we talked about last week was my vote for most improved was going to be Nathan Queen
Right.
going out there, and because he's not gonna have to worry about so much after the win and some of the other things that have happened
Yeah.
to him over the season. He's gonna go out there and his mind's gonna be focused. And I think we could see a really huge push forward towards
Yeah.
being a number one player out of Chris Dickerson too.
Yep. I
Um,
agree. Having
and
that
this,
focus.
yeah, he's gonna be able to focus exactly on what he needs to. He doesn't have to worry about money for this tour. He's going to be able to tour more than he ever has, and that's going to be great for him. And Discraft has no shame in marketing their players. The amount like they don't market Macbeth, but Macbeth markets himself, so they don't need to.
Right.
Paige Pierce markets herself, but Discraft still has a great marketing scheme outside of those players,
Yes.
and that's really going to fit Chris's vibe a little bit better. And I think that that's
And they
that'll be
also
important.
support their players too. Like if there's something that is happening with the Paul Macbeth Foundation, or Paige Pierce is up for this award, or Ezra's coming up for this award, or something like that,
Yep.
they share it. They get it out there. They're like, "Hey, we're proud of our player.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? That right there is huge.
and
That
yeah,
that means
that would
so much as a
like
fan or as a player. You know how much that means? Like
yeah.
it's unreal.
Yeah, and Dickerson's wife actually made a comment to um, Ulti when they did an interview with them together, and her main comment, the only thing that she really had to say was, "They take care of their people," quote unquote. They we're already seeing that, and I just can't express how grateful we are for how they've treated us already.
Yeah,
I mean that's not even from Dickerson himself. That's from his wife.
right.
And the first thing that she has to say about them is they take care of us. We've been here for a week and they take care of us.
Yep.
And we're excited for that. So,
I'm excited about it. I am. I am so happy that he went with Discraft. I really am.
yeah. Yeah.
I think it's a great
Uh
fit too.
yeah. Well, let's enter for a couple of minutes. We kind of talked about it a little bit last week, but let's talk a little more about this, the land of make believe, um with Katrina Allen.
Okay. So here's what I think, and I think you are right there with me on. We think that she's gonna go to Infinite. Um, I truly do think that she will end up with Infinite. Um, and I don't think she's gonna take a big deal. I don't think so. Um,
No.
I think she's going to eventually slow down. I don't know um how many more years she plans on being, you know, in the top two conversation. Like I kind of feel like she's going to slow down, take her time, and maybe do some of the like the teaching part of disc golf. Um, maybe even join up with like the Uli brand where they're doing the Leadership Institute and stuff. I don't
Yeah.
know, maybe something like that. Because from what I've heard is that she is, she's not active on social media really or anything like that, but her clinics are desired and there's something to really, really write home about, I guess. Um,
Right.
so maybe that's something. I'm not sure, but I think that we see her with Infinite, potentially 5 years, maybe. Um, it's something
Yeah.
within the next five. I think that she's going to be a top level contender for at least 5 more years. But after that, who knows?
Yeah, um I fully believe Cat's going to Infinite. We talked about it a little bit last week where Infinite had responded to a tweet about her, and this was after uh, Drew Gibson had kind of made that little "I know more than you" tweet. And since the last time we talked, it happened again. There was another tweet that was related to Cat specifically, and Infinite interacted with it. And that's, you know, there's a little. a little bit of a are they are they just kind of trying to pull our legs? Are
Right.
they are they just trying to run us through the grass and hype it up a little bit and kind of just give it a little bit of credence? Or are they hinting at something? And I personally believe that they're hinting at something. I don't
I
think
do too.
if you look through their Twitter and you see the stuff that they respond to with comments, the things that they like, the tweets that they like, and I kind of scrolled through for a few minutes just to get an idea of what they interact with, their whoever their social marketing team is, what do they interact with? And I got a huge vibe that they don't interact with a whole lot, and it's it's fairly rare and seldom. And so the fact that they're interacting with stuff relating to her just continues to make me believe that there's no reason why she wouldn't go there at this point.
Right.
It's they're hinting at something, or they're pulling us, they're dragging us through the mud, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and either way, I think it's kind of cool. If that's their idea of humor, so be it. I don't have a
Yeah.
problem with it
I don't
either
either.
way.
As long as she doesn't.
Um, yeah, yeah, and I doubt she would, because it's
I
not
don't
like
either.
they're
Yeah.
they're not talking trash about
She's
her or
not even
anything.
on Twitter, probably, to be honest.
No, I don't think she is. But that, like I mentioned last week, she's earned the right to throw a mixed bag at this point. She's earned the
She
right
can
to not
go
have to.
wherever she wants. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like, it's kind of like, um, you know, at the end of high school, you take your ACT and, you score a 30, and, it's like, I can go wherever I want. It's, I'll go wherever I want to. Whereas, like,
yep,
some of these younger players that are in the FPO field are,
yep,
scoring 18s and 22s and 23s, and they're like, I got to work my way up and
yep,
earn a contract somewhere. Whereas she is, you know, she's established.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'm not going to speculate too much about how much money she makes, only because I hope she doesn't settle for a small contract. To be honest, I think if you truly believe, and I'll just agree with you for the sake of the conversation, that she's going to be competitive for another 5 years, I hope she makes money.
Yeah,
I really do, because, like I said, I don't agree with, based on how she's played so far, that Kona is getting that deal.
yeah,
However, I really continue to hope that that is the trajectory of the FPO pay scale,
yeah.
because
I
even
do
if
too.
based on previous years that's not what she's worth, I hope that all of FPO is moving to that direction. And if that's the case, then Katrina needs to be paid.
Yeah,
It's as simple as that for me. She's played that way, and she's been a marketable player for a long time as well, and she deserves that money.
maybe
So
a 2-year 500K.
oh yeah, well, I was actually projecting, when before Kona announced her departure, I had projected 4 years, in the proximity of $1 million with uh, Trilogy.
Right.
So, yeah, I think she's worth that.
I do too.
Absolutely.
I
So,
do too. There's no reason that she's not.
yeah. So, all right. One of the things we wanted to talk about a little bit this week was, we are so close now, literally just, you know, 6-ish weeks away from the Pro Tour kicking off.
Mm-hmm.
So we just wanted to review a couple of the dates, and maybe talk about some of the ones that we're most excited to see, and maybe some of the ones that we don't really care too much about, if
Right.
we feel that way about any of them. I have my feelings about some courses, no big deal. This year, the Pro Tour, and we're going to talk specifically about the Pro Tour, and we'll probably save the conversation for the majors until next week.
Yeah.
um, so this year we have the Las Vegas Challenge. The Las Vegas Challenge is going to be run, from February 25th through the 28th. And then they're going to move on to Waco. Waco is going to be March 12th through the 14th. After Waco, they're going to be heading over to Jonesboro. That's going to be the 16th to the 18th. And then we're going to see the OTB Open. It's going to be the 14th through the 16th. Um, and then you have the Portland Open. That's going to be in June, the first week of June. Des Moines Challenge is going to be the first week of July. You have the Great Lakes Open is going to be the last weekend of July. Um, Actually, that's not true. It's going to be July 23rd through the 25th, and then the Preserve is actually going to be the last weekend of July. And then you have Ledgestone the first full weekend of August. Idlewild is going to be the 13th and the 15th of August. MVP September 3rd through the 5th, and the Green Mountain Championship is going to be the 9th through the 12th. And closing off the tour will be October 14th through the 17th at the Pro Tour Championship, which is always at Hornets Nest.
Yes.
I'll start off with the ones I'm least favored or least excited about. You know, it gets my blood flowing knowing that the season's going to be coming, and so there's a lot of excitement around the Las Vegas Challenge. However, it's one of my least favorite events to watch after
Yeah.
the fact. So,
It's like
um,
NASCAR.
yeah,
You know, it's
it's
like I'm throwing another hyzer.
that's
I'm throwing
that is
another hyzer.
oh my
A
gosh, that
hyzer
is
and skip and roll and die. Hyzer, skip, roll, die. Hyzer, skip, roll, die. You know, it's but it's cool because it's the first. I would hate it if it wasn't the first
yeah.
event.
If Las
They're
Vegas was
so
in the middle
smart
of
at
the
having
summer,
it at the first event. That's all I'm saying.
um, Waco being the second, you know, I always love Waco. You get a lot
Waco's
of big
great.
hyzers on that course, but there's a lot of technical lines as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a really nice balance between having some open bombers and some really technical par threes and par fours. And I just think that in terms of any course that's on this list, I know Las Vegas is technically considered the opening of the tour, but for me, the tour truly starts at Waco. Um,
2018 was the year that I started watching disc golf,
yep.
and I didn't know really anybody. And Simon was the one that was on lead card coverage, and that was the reason that I became a Simon fan. Was that
Oh man.
it was Waco,
Yeah.
and seeing him throw up and over, and everybody else just couldn't. And
Yep.
then it was just like, wow, that dude's awesome. You know what I mean? I want to see more of him.
Exactly.
So
Yeah. Yeah. So for me,
Waco has that.
that's the real Kickstarter for the season. Um, if it weren't for the fact that it's actually an elite tier event, I actually don't think that many players would go to the Las Vegas Challenge. If
Yeah,
for some reason that actually got decreased down to a an A
Silver
tier
Series or
instead of yeah,
okay,
uh,
all the way
similar to
down.
what happened to Memorial.
Yeah.
Like let's pretend for an example that Las Vegas went down to A tier and Memorial got picked back up for an elite series. You would see a pretty similar thing. Like I don't like watching the Memorial very often either. I'll watch it one time, but it's never going to be a tournament that I ever go back and rewatch.
Right.
It's just it's that hyzer all day long,
Mm-hmm.
and I love watching big arms and having fun, but it's just I want to see them do something.
Right.
Every player at that level can throw a power hyzer, and so it's just it's whatever. So for me, Waco's that perfect introduction to what we're going to see this
Yep.
year. Um, and that's like I won't even judge whatever happens with new players and their sponsors at Las Vegas very much. Waco is where I'm really I especially because it's another couple of weeks after.
Yep.
I think most of those players are gonna have a really solid idea of what their bag is doing by then, and they're
Mm-hmm.
they're gonna know what's
Waco's
going
gonna be
on.
that telltale sign of like,
Yep.
okay, this player's learned their bag really well. This player's learned their bag really well. This
Yep.
player's still not there quite yet on their bag. I agree. Waco is probably what I'm most excited for right now. Um, and the Music City Open, as well because it's early.
Mm,
It's early this year.
Shoot, actually, you know what? Those are the wrong tour dates. I don't know how that happened.
Oh, did you look at the
Um,
2021 season?
yeah. Let me try that again. Their website is god awful, by the way.
The
Pro
Pro
Tours.
Tours, yeah.
Yeah. The dates are for the most part
They're
pretty
close.
unchanged.
They didn't yeah, they didn't sound too bad to me. Yeah.
Yeah. So the only one I missed really is the Dynamic Disc Open. in Emporia. That's going to be April 28th through May 1st. But the dates are literally only one day off for most of the other events. And then the Texas State Championship is actually an Elite Series this year through the Pro Tour.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the
Was that the one that
Idlewild, I
Matty O won last year?
believe so. I would have to look to be
I
sure.
think he did.
But yeah, and then LWS Open at Idlewild in July.
Yep.
But in terms of the kickoffs, at least for what we'll talk about, nothing
Yeah.
changes. It's still Las
LBC and
Vegas
Waco.
first and Waco. Texas State being next again. Nothing super exciting there. I'm not sure what courses they're using. I'm sure it's the same as always, but let's see
It's
what they
more of a
pull up.
technical style.
Yeah, so it's a better feel, I think,
Mm-hmm.
overall. They don't have a whole lot of information listed on their website about the Open yet. It's so frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
But after that, they're going to head over to Jonesboro, and Jonesboro is kind of where you start seeing
I thought
that.
Jonesboro is where Worlds is. No, that's Arkansas. It's Emporia is Worlds.
Yes, so they'll actually play Emporia twice this year.
That's weird.
I mean, it happens.
Yeah,
It's
but it's
it's
weird.
one of the things about a rover major that you can't really avoid if you're going to have a solid pro tour, because the pro tours are going to go to the best places available out there every year. And the Worlds is that it's a rover, so it's gonna move over
Yeah,
to
I just feel
and
like it should take the place of an elite tour. Like Worlds should, you know what I mean? Like if you're gonna play the course and it's gonna be for Worlds at some point that year, can you imagine winning it at, when it's not technically the World Championship, and then be like, well, that guy beat me at the same course, but it was
right,
for a World Championship, even though I won it already. I don't
yeah,
know. It gives me a weird
yeah.
feeling.
So they're going to be playing at the Disc Side of Heaven on the gold layout for that particular event. That one kind of gives you a really nice mixture between that open bomb and technical lines, where you've got to hit some bombs, but you got to hit bombs on good lines,
Could you imagine
which
though
is
if it's windy at the Worlds for like 40, 50 mile an hour winds?
oh my
Like
gosh.
anybody could win.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Whoever's throwing the most overstable discs.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
It's like, oh, are you
Um,
bagging? Oh, okay, Ricky, you're bagging nine. No, no, 10 felons. Okay, I see. I
yep.
understand.
Yeah. So, so Jonesboro, I'm always excited for Jonesboro. I think it's a really fun one to watch.
Hmm.
Usually, and then Dynamic Discs Open. That's going to be at Emporia. We know what to expect there. They're going to be at yeah, yeah. So that one's one of my favorite ones to watch too. Um, Particularly because although it's pretty big and open, there's some really delicately placed OB,
Yeah.
and it's the kind of place where you could have somebody go from being 20 down to 10 down if they're really, really struggling out there. Um, and I know players don't like OB and people don't like to watch OB, but I find it fun to watch. I think that there are some courses that really hammer it home a little too hard, but you know, at this level of play,
Yeah.
you got to
Scoring
hit your
separation.
spots.
Yep.
And and that's a course that is easily marred by winds as well
Mm-hmm.
out there in Kansas. Oh my gosh. And then you have that interesting backswing where you go from Kansas, go all the way back to the OTB Open in Stockton, California. Um, I've always thought that was a little bit of a weird swing,
Yeah.
personally. I always felt like OTB Open should be a little bit later in the year, or maybe not that. Actually, I think
It should be up
Jonesboro
around
and
there.
Emporia should be at a later point in the year. However, it gets really hot and um, very disgusting in Jonesboro too late in the
Right.
year, you know. So it would have to be one of the last stops of the year if it were not going to be in April like it
Yeah.
is. So I understand that. So then you switch back over to there. Um, I don't know. They actually have the caddy book posted already. Um, it'll be Swenson Park. I actually don't know a whole lot about Swenson Park personally. I couldn't tell you a whole lot about it. Um, it's a pretty high part course, it looks like. MPO's 66.
Yeah.
There's a lot of par fours,
That
pretty
is.
pretty deep. A lot of really deep par threes there as well. I mean, you're talking 445 on hole two, 459 on hole eight, um, and there's not a single hole underneath 300 on the entire course.
Yeah. It's a long
Yeah,
course.
and that one's looks like it's played on a golf green or a golf course as well. I think I've watched it one time, and in terms of golf courses, I think it's a little bit better than most, just because there's a little more tree coverage out there. There's some more lanes that they have to hit. There's some more wooded type holes. Hole six, seven, and eight are all alleys or lanes that you have to hit, where you're going through the woods as opposed to over fairways. Um, so that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Definitely something to watch there. And then that's where they have the big kickback swing, head all the way up to Portland. I love watching the Portland Open.
Yeah, I do
Um,
too.
Portland Open is one of those ones where anybody could win at any given time.
Yeah.
So
It's kind of
that'll be,
right around where, like, who's gonna start getting hot here
yeah,
for the gear up to the east is
yeah,
basically.
yeah, yeah. And then after the Portland Open, swinging over to Preserve, which is the LaVisca course.
Yep.
Um, and that one's like halfway between a course or woods course and a
Of course.
golf course, because it's designed on an abandoned golf course, if I remember
Correct.
correctly. So the nice thing about that, and one of the things I really like about the preserve, is that they have all the freedom in the world to do how they want. They
Yeah.
don't have to fit within the golf course, you know, when
Yep.
they go to a golf course. And so they do. Lavisca did a really good job designing that course. That's a good one to watch.
It's fun to
Um,
watch. Yeah.
of course, Idlewild.
Yep.
Love watching Idlewild. But that's going to
We
be
may try
right
to
after.
we may try to go up there and see that one. We should try to do that. It's not
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's not
No,
far
it's
from
not far.
us. A
No,
couple
it's
hours.
little meet in the middle for us.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, they don't no tickets on sale for that one yet. I know that for sure. But uh, yeah, Idlewild is one of my favorite courses to
Yeah.
watch.
I would like to watch it in person.
Yeah, I think I'd have a good time. And if we get the chance to go out there and do that in person, maybe we'll do a couple of live broadcasts
Yeah.
from the hotel or something,
Yep. We could do it.
and just give you a little 30-minute segment every night and tell you what's happening in the tournament. That would
Yep.
be cool. Uh, yeah. So after Idlewild, you've got the Great Lakes Open um, out in Minnesota,
Michigan.
Michigan.
Yep.
Sorry, Minnesota is the preserve.
Yeah.
I'm like, am I? That's Michigan.
Yep.
Let's see. Um,
Discraft.
and that is um, until the last two or three events of the year. That's my favorite event
Yeah.
of the entire season. Um, outside of Maple Hill, uh, Toboggan is my favorite course on tour,
Right.
hands down, um, because it's a bomber course, but it is one of the most difficult and extremely technical bomber courses that
Yeah.
you will ever find. and I love to watch that. I mean, every time I think about toboggan, I shake my head at the fact that Macbeth threw an 18 down.
Right.
I just, that's it. That's all I got to say about that.
Yep.
Uh, Ledgestone in Eureka, it's an A for me.
Right.
One that I will definitely love to watch the first time through. I'm not sure so much about the second one. Des Moines is a good one.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the Des Moines challenge. That one's going to be, that's at Pickard Park.
Illinois.
That's where you really kind of start to see some of the more wooded courses. It's not a super wooded course, but it's where we start to see the more eastern side
Yeah, that
of
northeastern
of,
swing. Like when you
of
go to Maple Hill and Green Mountain Championship.
yep, yeah. So Des Moines is kind of like a little teaser,
Mm-hmm.
and then right after that you have the Green Mountain and Maple Hill, and of course Maple Hill is my favorite event to watch all year,
Yep.
um, hands down. Big fan of the Green Mountain Championship as well. Probably the tightest wooded lines on the Pro Tour, I believe.
Between that and Idlewild.
Yeah. I like that too for the smugs as well because you get
A preview for the next year's Worlds.
yeah, and that one gives you two courses as well because that gives you Brewster and Fox Run
Yep.
out there. Um, and they're two different style courses, and I really love to actually see that
Mm-hmm.
on the tour.
I do too. I
Um,
like to see both. Yeah.
yeah, that's you know, so that's a good one. And then of course Maple Hill.
Right.
And Pro Tour Championship. As I just wish Hornet's Nest wasn't wasted on that format.
Yeah.
That's my only thing. If I could change anything, I don't know what course it would be at, but Hornet's Nest is just such a beautiful course. I would love to see 100-player allotment on that course for 4 days.
Right.
So,
But it's got to happen somewhere.
yeah. So, which event are you most excited for this year?
Idlewild.
Idlewild.
Yep.
Yeah, that'll be a good one.
Yep. That's what I'm most excited for.
Yeah, I, I'm excited for Great Lakes Open.
Yep.
I
A
really
great one.
I want to see Eagle try to push for a perfect round out there.
Yeah.
I know that the OBs are a little more aggressive than the year that Paul threw
Yeah.
that 18 down, and a few of the baskets are a little bit of a tougher placement, but Eagle has it, man.
Well, Eagle won it last year. First time ever seeing first time ever playing it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
I want to say
impressive.
that's correct,
That is impressive.
but yeah, uh, he, he could push for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's pretty much it for that.
Um,
Getting down to the end of the show, let's talk about our favorite distance drivers.
yeah, let's do a little top five.
If anybody is still with us here in chat, why don't you guys go put your 5 favorite distance drivers in the chat here real quick. Let us
Yeah.
know what you guys like.
So we don't have to do too much explaining. Um, I just want to hear. We can go back and forth, or you can do your list and then I do my list. How do you want to do it?
Let's go back and forth and let's go from
Okay.
the bottom to the top. So number 5 to number 1.
All right. Well, my number five is going to be the Discraft Crank. Not
Ooh,
Crank SS, not Crank OS. I don't even know if they make one of those. But the Discraft
cheeky.
Crank is
I
my
like that.
number five.
Okay. Okay.
In uh
Uh,
in ESP or Z Plastic because they fly the exact same, which is rare.
that that's pretty hard to come by.
Yep.
My number 5 and I wouldn't have said this 2 months ago, but I'm going to say it now, is the Onyx. The Onyx has worked its way to a very special place in my heart. It gives me the ability to throw power hyzers when I want to because it's overstable enough.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's understable enough that I can push it flat out to some places and get a trusted fade. And if I push it flat in a headwind, I rarely have to worry about it turning over. The only time I've ever had it flip over on me is when I was experiencing a 20 mile an hour plus direct headwind.
Right.
Um, and yeah, so it's become a trusty favorite of mine. And I've had quite a few instances where I've been able to push a power hyzer out and actually get that out 300 plus feet,
Right.
which for what is it, a 9 speed? It's a 9 or a 10 speed, and that's rare.
Yeah, it's a 10 speed.
Yeah, that is absolutely rare for me. Specifically, I prefer it in ESP or Big Z.
Right.
I like the softness of the Big Z. Um, it's a little too overstable until it's fully beat in from Z.
Okay. My
Once it's beat in, it's the same, but yeah, it's a lot of work. Go ahead.
my number 4 is the Millennium Falcon.
Ooh,
It
that's
is, yeah, the Millennium Falcon. And I'm not a Star Wars fan, but
that.
it's a great
I mean,
name.
that's the greatest get of all time.
Yeah.
If you're to talk about a name, that's it right there.
Yeah. It
Um,
is I can roll it. It's a hyzer flip lower, it's just it's a really fast, understable disc. And I like it.
all right, all right. Um, number 4 for me. Uh, I'm gonna go T-Bird. Well, that's
The
fairway.
fairway.
That's fairway. So that'll be next week. Now, sorry, I have all five
Spoiler for
discs.
next week.
I'm just trying to order them in my mind. Well, yeah, no spoiler for next week.
Hmm.
Um, all right. Star Wraith.
Okay.
Um, I don't throw them anymore. Um, just because, like we've said, I'm pushing away from them. But I mean, Star Wraith is just, if it's made right and it's not made with any of those weird variances we were talking about that they've kind of had issues with recently, the Star Wraith is one of the best discs on the market, man. I
Yeah.
mean, it's there.
Yep.
It is there.
You're not wrong. My number 3 is the let's see here. So my number 3 is going to be the Nuke, the Discraft Nuke.
Okay. Any reason why?
It's a nuke.
It's a
Like,
nuke, man.
it's such a great forehand disc for me.
Yep.
I'm very glad that I am now able to bag it again. I'm gonna put it in, take a destroyer out. Um, I'm pretty excited about putting it back in the bag.
All right. Yeah. All right. I have to go backwards one more time. This is the last Innova I'm putting on here. Uh, a champion boss,
I'm
max
very
weight.
surprised that you didn't say Valkyrie.
Uh, yeah. Uh,
Yeah.
the one thing about the boss is, even if it has variations, I could go to a store today and buy a boss, and it doesn't matter if it's not as good as it used to be, because it's still going to be that perfect overstable 13 speed ridiculous
Right.
whatever. And for me, I put it in my top 5 specifically for one reason and one reason only, and that is for overhands. Um, I don't know. I've rarely been able to find a disc that I like to throw thumbers with as
Right.
much as the boss. I can throw them soft, I can throw them hard. I know what they're going to do in either situation. Um, and it's such an easy disc to find
Yeah,
because of
you're right.
the boss world record. You
Yep, the
know,
$11.02. Drew
it's not a
Wiggins.
great, yeah, it's not a great throwing disc, even though it has the world record max distance. It's I don't find it to be a great throwing disc, but I have no problem beating it up on an overhand
Yeah.
because if anybody doesn't throw a lot of overhands, let me tell you, if you're not throwing overhands in grassy meadows, that disc is taking a beating.
Mm-hmm.
And no matter how hard of a beating that disc takes, it is still the most overstable disc I've ever thrown.
That's funny. Um, my number two is the Scorpius. Uh, I love the Scorpius. It's such a great disc. Um, I gotta get another one, but I I evidently love them more than they love me.
Yep.
That's all I need to say about that. What's your number two?
Number two, I'm gonna go with a DD3.
DD3.
And I don't think it matters whether it's the old ones or the new ones.
Right.
That disc is an absolute bomber.
Yep.
I like when you think of max distance, um I mean, you think of one of the things that comes to mind for me is MVP
Yeah.
because gyro technology gets you an extra 20 feet. But the DD3 is just so well made and well designed. I don't know what it is about how it was designed to be that aerodynamic, but my gosh, man, that
Yeah.
that disc has no gyro and it puts gyro to shame at the same time.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
I've
The
been
DD3 is a
trying to
great disc.
I've been trying to find a cloud breaker for so long. I have to wait another year. So,
Yeah. All right.
number one.
Ballista Pro is my number one.
Yes.
Ballista
All right.
Pro is my number one. It is my go-to as of the late um to for my forehands. Um I've been throwing the destroyers on the backhands and the Ballista Pros and nukes on the forehands, and I am in love with my Ballista Pros, and I will forever bag one.
And 100% completely understand exactly what you're talking about. All right. Are you ready for my number one? It's going to surprise you. My number one is the Discraft Undertaker.
Okay.
Um, I'll tell you something because how often have I told or mentioned the Valkyrie?
A lot.
A lot. It's my favorite distance driver that I've ever thrown in my entire life.
But yet it didn't make your top five.
And here's why. The Undertaker has essentially taken its place in the bag for me.
Right.
Um, I used to throw the Valkyrie when I needed it to hit a specific gap, and I needed to not worry too much about it turning over. Um, and I needed something that was going to go straight, and I mean straight. It has a -2 fade or a -2 turn and a 2 fade, and the only time I ever had to worry about it was in a direct headwind. Now the thing is with the Undertaker, I have found at my power level that I can control the disc as well, if not better, and I can throw it in a headwind and not have to worry about getting a full turnover on it
Right.
most of the time. And I didn't really like realize it until a couple of weeks ago because there was one particular shot shape that I was like, I should probably throw a Valkyrie here. And then I pulled it out and I put it in my hands and I was like, wow, it's been 3 weeks since I've even thrown a Valkyrie.
Yeah.
Why?
And then you was like,
It
it's because I
it's
use the
it's
Undertaker
been
now.
replaced. It's been replaced. It has thoroughly been replaced in my bag. Like I could take it out. Um, I have two Valkyries actually, and I would have no problem taking one of them out completely and just throwing it away.
Yeah.
Absolutely no problem. And actually, the one that I would throw out is that one right there.
The blue one.
Yep. Oh,
Yep.
well, both of them are blue actually. But that one, that's a Star Valkyrie. The one I would keep would be a Champion Valkyrie. Um, number one, because I have an ace with it.
Right.
Number two, it has been the most trusted disc in my bag for as long as I can remember. Even though I throw the Undertaker more now, it would stay there because of what it is to me.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's I couldn't put it on my top five because it's been replaced. Now that being said, when I didn't have the arm speed that I have now, that number two turn
Yeah.
would have been better than the Undertaker for me. The Undertaker would have been a slightly too overstable, but with my arm speed the way that it is now, the Undertaker does everything that it can and more.
Yep. I agree. Well, we've hit good spot. Um, if you think we should go ahead and wrap it up,
Yeah, I'm ready.
all right.
Um,
Um, guys, we appreciate it. Guys and girls, uh, thank you all for tuning in for the fifth episode of the Tennessee Twos Disc Golf Podcast. We really do appreciate you. Thanks for all the support and thank you for all of the interactions tonight. Um, we are doing this strictly for fun and because we think there's not enough disc golf content out there, and
nope.
we are just adding to it. So if y'all can,
Yeah.
whenever you hear this, tell a friend. You know, uh, as some other podcasts say, be a friend, tell a friend. You know,
Yeah.
but
Absolutely.
and if y'all would like us to talk about any specific thing, feel free to hit us up at any point when you hear this. This could be,
Yeah.
we're recording this January 11th in 2022. If you hear this in 2023 and decide that, it's like, hey, I wonder if they'll talk about this, try it. You know what? We
Yeah.
might just do it. But
Yeah.
we do appreciate you guys, and I and Daniel are very appreciative of you guys. And
100%.
we will see you
Um,
guys next week. And, hopefully we have some great stuff to talk about. Peace, guys.
cat, cat, sign, please.
Hat?
Give us our cat,
Oh, yeah, cat. I thought you said
cat.
hat.
Give us our headline topic next week, please.
Yeah,
We're ready. The whole
we are
disc golf
ready.
world is ready. Yeah. With that, just to resound what he's already said, thank you guys so much. We really appreciate it. Um, and we're excited to give you guys more and to keep talking about this kind of stuff because season hasn't even started yet, and
Yep,
there's going to be a lot to talk about this year. But
that
thank you
right.
guys. Have yourselves a great week, and we will talk to you next week.
Laters.